Today on Ask the Oracle, we have the most amazing guest. The episode title is really interesting. It's The Seed of Dreams, Unlocking Bold Visions and Nature's Wisdom with our guest, Chip Richards, Olympic coach, mentor, and author of The Seed of Dreams. It's an amazing book. I have actually read it. It's wonderful. So, what if your wildest dreams weren't just whispers of possibility, but seeds waiting to be nurtured? In this episode, I sit down with Chip Richards, a man who has spent decades guiding elite athletes, artists, soulpreneurs, entrepreneurs, and world-class leaders to step into their greatest potential. Through his book, The Seed of Dreams, Chip reveals that bold visions don't just happen by chance. They grow like seeds with care, courage, and the right environment. But perhaps the most profound wisdom comes from when he spends much of his time immersed in nature, listening deeply to its intelligence. Hi, Chip, how are you?
Wonderful, Suzy. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it's an honor to have you on. I'm so excited for this beautiful interview. I know it's just going to be so well received. So let's dive deep into these questions. So the first topic I want to kind of dive deep into is vision, purpose, and growth. So the seed of dreams. Chip, what inspired this book and how can people start cultivating their boldest visions?
Hmm. It's a big
It's a big
question.
question.
Yeah, it's a good starter. So the book, interestingly enough, it came to me, the seed of this book arrived into my heart and into my mind about 23 years ago, which is kind of interesting. I had just about a year before finished my journey as the head coach of the Olympic ski program here in Australia. And I had transitioned into starting to work with humans outside of sport and was just connecting with the deep themes that motivated people to grow and move into their calling in life in a lot of different forms. And at the time, we were living on a little farm, and I was growing my very first garden. And I was, it was a very small little patch of a little raised garden bed. And it started with a bit of tangle of weeds and not much growing in it. And over the period of time, as I was transitioning from coaching athletes into coaching leaders and other individuals, I was tending this tiny little garden bed. And about a year after that little process started, I went and had a 3-day silent retreat and in nature and was just spending some time together. And on day 3, I was just sitting quietly at the beach, and the table of contents of this book, as it currently is, landed in my lap. And it was basically a quiet realization of the steps and phases of growing anything meaningful in our life and how they align deeply with the simple steps and phases of growing and nurturing a garden. And it sort of struck me like a bolt of lightning. And I thought, wow, I've just discovered something so special. And I came home and I was excited. I told my wife about it. I was like, wow, I'm going to write a book. And I wrote a draft. I did write a draft, and then I started talking about it and sharing the concepts from it. But the book itself sort of sat on the shelf for a couple of decades. And it was interesting because part of me felt like I was procrastinating, and I probably was on some level. But then when the book returned to me, and I decided to finish it a couple of years ago, and I sat down with the table of contents, I realized that it was really over the last 20 years that I had lived into the table of contents, and that for some beautiful reason, the topics had landed perfectly in my lap, but that I had to walk the path that I've walked in the last 20 years and live the journey that I've had in order to discover what was in between the title headings and the next one. So that is the seed of dreams and story for me, and really, I guess it's an example of how the things that we cherish in our life, the seeds that are rising in each of us. Sometimes they come in a fully packaged form, but they often also take seasons to unfold. So yeah.
Oh, so wonderful. The seed and then the journey, the journey of, yeah, cultivating the seed. It just makes so much sense to me. Yeah, because I've done a similar thing myself where it's kind of like you have this dream and vision, and it's like, oh, well, why have I shelved that? And then, of course, it's because, it's only going to be enriched by the journey. So sometimes it's like, I love the way you explained that, you had to kind of, not had to, but it just, living the contents and filling in those missing gaps, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's beautiful the way life gives us these flashes of clarity sometimes. And if you're, inspired by them, it feels like, wow, it's so clear it should happen right now.
Yeah.
Just like anything, just like the garden, even if I'm really clear I want to grow an orchard, it's still going to take 6, 7, 8, 10 years to cultivate that. So learning to trust and learning to appreciate the gentle unfolding, even of bold visions, is I think something that we all have to find our way into.
Oh, I love that. The unfurling, the unfolding. You've worked with Olympic athletes, artists, CEOs. What's the one thing, I'm sure there's many, but what's the one thing that unlocks true human potential?
There are a few things, and I'm, of course, still on the path of discovering that. It's
Yeah.
oftentimes, the reason that a leader or a team calls me in because something's stuck, or because there's an idea or there's a feeling that our team or our organization or my path has potential that isn't being fulfilled.
Yeah.
And there's a frustration, and there can be a tension, there can be angst, and there can be broken down relationships and broken down businesses because of this gap between what's possible inside of us and what's actually being experienced. And it's interesting because when I first started my path as a coach of athletes, I really thought that my job was to just boost and build the potential of the athletes, and to make them stronger and to make them faster and to make them cleaner and sharper, and that is part of the journey of the coach. But what I discovered more and more, the sort of closer that we got to the pointy end of their full expression as an athlete, and I have certainly found this in other arenas as well, is that the the true potential for full expression, I believe, is something that we're all fully born with, and it's in there. And so, as a coach, less and less am I thoughtful about how do I add to the potential. The potential is there. The shining star is
Right.
in there, and
Yeah.
the role of the coach is oftentimes to kind of uncover or peel back the layers of interference, or the layers of resistance, or the layers of self-doubt, or the layers of limited perception that sometimes get in the way of that pristine potential and its expression in the world. And so I would say, if there was one thing that helps to unlock the true potential in individuals, a first step is starting from a place of recognition that the true potential is in there. It's already in there.
Oh,
It's not something that I need to do out here, or something that I need to achieve out here. It's actually in here already.
it's so
And
good.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's kind of like, as a visionary, a leader, or, an alchemist, whatever you want to call yourself, it's kind of like, yeah, it's tempting to like want to just add more and more and more and more, when really it can be about the unveiling, the peeling back the layers to reveal that true potential that's already there. That's
Yeah.
so good. I love that answer.
Yeah, I think it seems to be a common thread. It really does. And it doesn't
Yes.
seem to matter what age the person is. I think in this day and age, there is a insatiable sense that we need to be more, and we need to do
Yeah.
more, and we need to prove ourselves more, and we need to accomplish more in order to be worthy or whatever. And I kind of like putting that whole perspective on its head and going, what if we were actually already who we came here to be? And it's
Oh,
really uncovering it.
yeah, yeah. It's so, that programming, that conditioning, often the roles, the obligations, whatever it might be, the layers that have been kind of like, put over the top of that authentic divine spark, that pure potential that we're born with. Such a great answer.
Mm.
So we both love nature. I'm a fairy queen at heart. I'm a Piscean priestess, and I love the ocean and I love nature. I love the elements. I love our beautiful Earth Mother. Now, the next topic is more about the wisdom of nature
Mm.
and those beautiful immersive experiences. I'm absolutely obsessed with your Instagram and those beautiful reels of those incredibly amazing whales. I just have to say it. I'm absolutely mesmerized. I can't get enough of it. So you take leaders into these really wild places. How does this kind of really deep connection with nature and the ocean change the way people lead, think, and create?
I think just maybe a little bit of context. I think for years, what I found for myself was that I was spending a lot of time inside of boardrooms and conference centers and offices, connecting with leaders and their teams. And then when I wasn't with them, I was spending as much time as possible in the garden, in the ocean, having deeply immersive experiences in the natural world as a way of filling my cup, rejuvenating myself, but also expanding just my own sense of presence and connection to life. And I found that the more time I spent in a deeply connected, immersive space, not talking about it, but being in the natural world, the more I felt like I had to offer those who I was with, and not from a kind of overly curated perspective, but just from what was naturally emerging in the space, the more I found I was more naturally able to respond to things that happened in the moment, whether it was with a group of 100 people or 4 people or one. And just my own patterns of thinking and behavior started to feel more empowered, maybe by my own true nature.
Yeah.
And after several years of really doing that, kind of going into the business world and then retreating to the orchard to refill my cup, I noticed more and more of the leaders that I was working with became more and more interested in, where's Chip going? Where are you going when you're not with us?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about your
What's that
beehive.
magical place you go to?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And quite beautifully over the last several years, more and more of the people that I work with have, instead of saying, "Why don't you come down to Melbourne and join us at our senior leadership team meeting?" They're saying, "Why don't we bring our senior leadership team up to Byron and spend a day with you and your bees, or can we go for a big walk or go for a surf
Oh gosh,
together?"
yeah.
And so that migration's happened quite naturally, and it's been really beautiful to see how nature has a way of shaving off our sharp edges and kind of rounding off the like the ambition that we seem to place ourselves in pursuit
Yeah.
of something, and it simultaneously then reveals these extraordinary ways that things can happen without forcing, without overly pushing hard, without making things happen like we've been trained. I was trained I needed to do if I wanted
Oh yeah.
to happen in life. And probably at the absolute pinnacle of that is an annual journey that I take with leaders and groups to the Kingdom of Tonga, and to swim with humpback whales. And it's really become a real crown jewel of my life and the work that I do, because it's there's just something very profoundly powerful about those extraordinary ancient beings and the presence that they exude, not by trying, not by forcing anything, but just by being who they are. And so to bring sometimes what would ordinarily be highly ambitious or driven individuals out into the deep blue water and over a period of a week, immerse them in experiences of deep connection with humpback whales. Um, it's just one of the greatest gifts in the world to watch the outer layers sort of fall away and
Yeah.
the shining jewels of who these individuals are just rise to the surface without forcing anything. And yeah, so it's been a real gift. And then to watch individuals take that energy as a reference point, as a like a, like I could go into a boardroom and draw a model about leadership, and we can talk about it all day long and intellectualize about different concepts of how you can.
Yeah.
But when we have physical experiences like this that sort of shift our DNA, it changes how we show up quite naturally. And that's the real gift in it, I think, is that when we have deeply profound experiences, it shifts our sense of who we are, and then that ripples through everything. And we don't need to practice a model or way of doing things.
Ah, so good. Like the flowing, not the forcing, the peeling back, the rewilding. It's just so great. And the profound lessons that come from an experience like that, it's not like you're trying to do this thing. It's more of a natural evolution. Yeah, so amazing. And yeah, you just have to check it out. It's incredible.
You might have to come, Suzy.
Definitely, it's definitely on the bucket list. Yeah, absolutely. So I just love that you do all these incredibly kind of grounding, earthing practices like gardening, beekeeping, which for me is just so sacred. The bees are so sacred. Surfing, I know you like to surf and free dive and all of that. Um, that's obviously shaped the way you see life. And I think you've pretty much answered this question. You must be psychic because I had to skip one. It was about the beautiful humpback whales in Tonga. But yeah, how has this shaped the way you see the world and leadership?
Hmm. Yeah, I think similar to what I shared before.
Yeah,
I feel like you know, we're in many ways highly intelligent species, and we're very progressive, and we're kind of very inventive, and we have a lot of creative force in us.
yes,
But I think over the last however many hundreds of years, we have as a whole created a lot of barriers between ourselves and the sort of natural flow of life, and probably started when we started putting kind of rubber and plastic and leather
under our feet.
under our feet, just in a
Yes,
very, very basic sense. We
I
kind of
know.
created a layer between us and the pulse of the planet. And then, I think we've just done that 1,000 different ways in the way that we've
Yeah,
created our civilization. There's many choices that we've made that we probably could have just stayed connected in the choice and the way that we build buildings, or the way that we create paths, or the way that we transport ourselves from place to place. And I think amazingly, there's millions of people who are reclaiming that now. But I think that it's like we went so far down one rabbit hole that it pulled us away from the real source of our true well-being and our true nature. And so I find experiences, large and small, whether it's just a 4-minute walk through the garden or a, you know, 7-day immersion with humpback whales, they all carry these touchstones of uh, a reminder of really a more natural way to be. And I think when we reconnect with that, it it's very powerful, and it empowers us to express ourselves in the world in a more naturally aligned way.
Beautiful. I call it the glimmers, and you're quite right. The glimmer can be a moment. It can be a magnificent odyssey, just getting still and connecting to nature. Like I've got 3.5 acres of trees here. I'm surrounded by birds and kangaroos. I even had an echidna in my garden the other day.
Mm.
I just absolutely love that connection. And like it's not like we have to go out into nature. We are nature, right? So it's kind of, there's something so beautiful about living that way. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great reminder too. I think that, I mean, I go out into nature a lot because it's a physical thing.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a physical reminder, but it's a reminder of what's actually already in me, right? And so,
Yeah.
if we can get that message, then yeah, inside, outside, small building, tall building, whatever's going on, we can feel the forest in us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So true. So how do you help leaders and individuals break through their fear and
Hmm.
step into their true power? Because that the shadow, the fear, how do you do that?
Well, I think it's a nuanced journey that each of us have our own path to walk in a way.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that helps me in my existence, and then I think it probably helps me guide other people, is there's this saying, which is a funny saying. It's a great saying. I love the saying. This idea that we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That
Do that hard thing.
that sort of life begins at the edge of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's a really nice. It's a great saying, but it's a very different experience. The saying
Yeah.
sounds nice. It's very
Sounds
poetic.
easy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Just,
yeah,
feel the fear and do it anyway,
exactly,
right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But the truth is that I don't think we can get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because the very nature of stepping outside of our comfort zone is that it's uncomfortable. It just is. It's
It just
never going to
is.
get comfortable outside of our comfort zone. It's always going to be uncomfortable. And I think the distinction that sometimes helps, though, and this is not a way of overriding our intuition if it's telling us that something's wrong here and there is something to be afraid
Yeah.
of, right? So sometimes I think we get mixed up between
Yeah.
what's an intuitive hit that, ooh, I'm going left here is not the right way,
Yeah.
versus just a fear that's rising as we're moving into something new. And I think what I have, and continue to learn, is that as I hit the edge of what I know, whatever arena, when I hit the edge of what's known to me and what's comfortable to me, that to recognize that there will be moments, and maybe extended moments, of discomfort, and that discomfort can show up in the way of fear or resistance, or negative talk telling me I'm not ready for this, or it's not right, or that's not, all of that it's actually a survival part of our brain that's kind
Yeah.
of keep us safe.
Yeah.
And I think to be able to have a conversation with that part of ourselves,
Yeah.
and to not try to push it down and go, oh God, no, I don't want to manifest something bad because I'm fearing something, but to go, wow, feel that fear coming up in me. That's amazing to feel how much energy is coming up as I step to this edge,
Yes.
and to take a couple deep breaths with it, and to just let it be there, and to recognize that it's not necessarily a signal that something's wrong. It's just a signal that something's new, that we're stepping outside of what we know, and so it's unknown to us, and so it's uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think if we take a deep breath and sit in that for a moment, oftentimes it dissipates,
Yeah.
and then we can take another step. And it doesn't mean the door flings wide open and now I feel no fear. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
oh, I just took another step and that felt okay. Take another deep breath and let's take another step. And in that way, we're kind of like we're rewiring ourselves
Exactly.
to just expand our realm of mobility in life, really.
Yeah. We're literally building new neural pathways in the brain. You know, if it's uncharted territory, I often call it growing pains. I think it's important to acknowledge it. You know, fear does have a place, but it's important to acknowledge it and recognize it. I love that you said sit with it for a while and just, you know, process it, alchemize it. You know, baby steps. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You don't need to see the whole road. It's like, and then, you know, you build that confidence and that kind of in the journey, don't you? I think that's just such a great way to describe it. I love that answer.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that your last sentence is right on too. It's like we don't build new muscles by thinking about it. You kind of got to take,
No,
and then you go, oh, wow, okay, I'm still here. It's all right.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take another step.
That's
And,
it.
and that can happen in a lot of different ways. That can be a leader that's wanting to be a better public speaker, or someone who's always done something on their own and they're trying to learn to empower the team around them. Or, it could be, a founder that had a team of five and now it's 5,000. And, like all of these things are edges. And
Yeah.
a little bit, it's interesting, a little bit like the garden in permaculture, there's this sort of celebration of the edges that every,
I
you know,
love the edges. I love the way you
fence
described that.
line, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the fence, the path, the garden path at the edge is a place you can grow things, right? And,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's good.
That's right. You know, like, you know, I often see it like a cliff, you know. It's like take that leap of faith and, you know, maybe you won't fall to the bottom, maybe you'll actually fly. Like, you know, like this is so cool.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest myth about personal growth that holds people back from real transformation, do you think?
Probably, it's similar. It's connected to one of our opening pieces of conversation, but I think one of the biggest myths um, is that that we have to be or do something
Yeah.
more than what we are, and
Yeah.
we and that we have to sort of like I am and this is not to be mixed up with, like, I am 100%, uh so there's two pieces, there's a kind of a dichotomy
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
on one
Yeah.
on one hand, I truly believe that most of us massively underestimate what we're capable of.
Oh,
And
yeah.
most of us, we don't even realize it, but as we move through childhood and life and kind of just navigating the world that we live in, our view of what's possible, it gets oftentimes condensed and shortened down and narrowed, and then we get to whatever age of life, and our wide vista of what's possible is shrunk. So
Yeah.
on one hand, I think that we are limitless beings, right? And we have massive capacity, way beyond what we imagine. And at the same time, though, I think that the myth is that I have to do something way different, and
Strive,
be
push,
something
force.
different than who
Yeah.
I am in order to access my true potential,
Yeah.
that I have to somehow be a different person than who I am. And I think there's a powerful force in the middle when we recognize, wow, who I am is enough. Like, who I am is enough, just as I am, just
Yeah.
right now, is just a beautiful, worthy expression of life. And there's nothing to do. And anything's possible, right? And we're here to create,
Yeah. That's it.
we're here to create, like, we're here to create worlds. So
Yeah.
I think finding the dance between those spaces, I think that we kind of
That
we
beautiful synergy.
the
Yeah.
mythology is that I think we somehow get stuck in one end of the spectrum or the other. We
Yes.
either say, oh, it's outside of me, I'm going to take the hill, I'm going to go beyond, and we just push, but we're striving for something that we'll never reach. because
Yeah.
we think it's outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
Or, we can also get, I think, hypnotized or, kind of lost in a space of inaction and kind of just
Yeah.
drift through life, right? So
Yeah. It's that beautiful dance. I love the way you described it. Yes, we have infinite potential, but here's the kicker. You're perfect as you are, like you're worthy, you're deserving, you're divine, you're this divine being that has everything you need inside of you. Like, yeah, like um it's that beautiful dance between the two. Yeah, love that. So we're in this incredibly changing world at the moment. So I want to talk a little bit about wisdom for a changing world. So the world is shifting. What do you sense is happening on a deeper energetic level?
my prevailing view is that is despite what things look like, I feel like life is like the universe is always moving lifeward. It's always moving towards life and light, and and sometimes it doesn't look like that, and it often doesn't feel like that. But I do feel like there is a deeper transformation and awakening happening than many of us can kind of even
Even comprehend.
conceptualize.
Yeah,
That, and I don't know a lot of the details, but I can feel, I can see and feel that people in all walks of life are waking up to deeper capacities within themselves
yeah,
and deeper sense of connection to the divine and to profound aspects of life. And it's amazing how just in a very subtle way, even a lot of the healing arts and meditative arts and well-being and all of these themes are just like kind of creeping into the mass consciousness. And
actually, that's so
you know
true. Yeah.
just even odd things like ice baths and breath work,
Yes.
and these things are
Yeah.
cool now, right?
That's right.
And
Sacred breath work, ice baths. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a
yeah,
wave of, it's very, very fashionable, which is a good
yeah,
thing. This is a good thing. It's that osmosis, that ripple effect. I know, 25, 30 years ago when I stepped into this space full time, it was very woo-woo. It was very weird. It was very underground. And now all of a sudden it's just like, you're right. There's this awakening, this opening, this expansion that's happening, or it's kind of creeping into, the everyday,
sorts of
into,
places you never would
yeah,
imagine, and
exactly.
it's interesting how I notice even, when I'm at an event with some clients, some corporate clients, how even the way that they introduce me to their colleagues or to the wider, they might have used to have really introduced me as, their coach and, a former Olympic coach and these sorts of things. And now it's interesting, just I haven't changed anything, but they're starting to introduce me and share me with others as their mentor, as a spiritual advisor, as
Oh, wow.
and these are people that even 3 years ago I would never have imagined they would even use those words, right? And they're not words that I've
Interesting.
used either. They're just kind of, it's like things are shifting on a very deep level within humanity, and I think it's beautiful, and
Yeah.
I think it's needed. The
Yeah.
our planet is in many ways massively out of balance in terms of the way that we live and work with the natural forces of the planet. And so I think there's a radical need for us to wake up and to remember and to evolve our way of being if we want to stay here on the planet, if we want to
Yeah.
but I feel like the planet is always also moving lifeward, and it will do what she will do what she needs to
Exactly.
preserve or reclaim harmony, and whether
Yeah.
we're here or not, it's interesting with years ago when we first started connecting with the whales, and we got connected to several sort of activist groups which we're really trying to protect the whales and preserve the whales, and with great reason, because they're under threat, from multiple forces, ridiculous forces. But the deeper that I went down that path, and the more I connected with those beings, the more I felt like, well, actually, I think the whales are trying to help us. And I think they're trying to save.
Yeah, that's it.
And they've been here for 50 million years. They'll work it out. They're trying to help wake
So
up.
interesting. As a species, we can be so arrogant, can't we? Oh, I love that so much. That's such a great answer, and a terrific segue into a card reading from my Water Temple Oracle deck. And I just have to show you this. It's beautiful. Mama Kocha. She's so beautiful. She's the ocean mother. And I don't know if you can see it, Chip, but can you see?
Oh, wow.
She's swimming with the whales, and it's just so beautiful. And Mama Kocha's spiritual totem is the whale. As mammals, mother whales have a close bond with their calves and fiercely protect them. Baby whales whisper to their mothers when they are swimming to show affection. They maintain a safe distance so they don't get lost or attacked or whatever. So they sing out to their mama for protection throughout their journeys. So it's just a really beautiful card. It's I flow with life and life flows with me. It's the collaboration card. The flow words are align, unite, and create. And I just couldn't wait to show you that card, because that's how strongly I feel about our beautiful ocean mother.
Wow, so gorgeous.
So gorgeous.
Beautiful.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege, and just so enlightening. So thank you so much for coming on.
A total pleasure, Suzy. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed the conversation.